Hey everyone, it's Zack Beck. Imagine paying for your goods, groceries, and gasoline all in Bitcoin. That is going to be the new reality for people living in El Salvador, as it became the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. This is a historic achievement for the cryptocurrency, yet it raises many questions in the process. President Nayib Bukele says it's going to benefit the nearly 70% of El Salvadorans who do not have access to a bank account, but many people wonder, with limited access to internet, if they're going to be able to utilize Bitcoin effectively. So what I want to do in this video is break down in detail what this new law is, how it is going to be implemented, as well as long-term implications for Bitcoin's price moving forward from here. So let's take our time, dive into the details, and jump into it right now. As previously mentioned, El Salvador has adopted Bitcoin as legal tender in their country. They are the first nation to do so, and this has significant implications in the daily lives of individuals who are living there. Now, to take a quick step back to understand what this law actually is, the first thing we need to understand is that people who use banking systems in El Salvador are very limited. As a matter of fact, nearly 70% of people who live in El Salvador do not have access to a bank account, and the majority of their income that they actually have going into their country is actually from remittance from people paying from the United States and other countries back into their families who live in El Salvador. And many people have complained about the lag time as well as the different fees associated with remitting money from the United States back to El Salvador. So what they're proposing is, by implementing this new law of Bitcoin, it should allow faster transaction times and not having the fees associated with that. Now, when we talk about transactions when it comes to remittance, that is one thing. But then when you think about people are actually going to go to their local merchant and actually have to pay with Bitcoin, that brings up a whole new slew of problems. As you might know, it is very challenging for Bitcoin to be used in the marketplace. That is because the time it takes for transactions to be issued along the blockchain take about 10 minutes to do so. So if you can imagine going to a counter, paying someone, and waiting 10 minutes to make sure the transaction is verified before you leave, that could create problems for any local merchant or any business. So that is an issue that's going to come up, but what we're finding is that people right now who do not have access to a debit card or a credit card generally are paying in cash anyways, so this is going to be a dramatic difference for them moving forward. One thing that is important to be aware of is that back in 2001, El Salvador switched to having the US dollar serve as a legal tender for their country. This brought on some new problems, but also brought on some new benefits to those who lived in that country, and now they're hoping the same thing can occur by moving over to crypto, and specifically with Bitcoin. Now, this new law that has gone into effect requires that merchants and businesses actually accept Bitcoin in that country, and it is the option that the consumer then has to either pay with the US dollar or to pay with Bitcoin. Now, what the government is going to guarantee is that they will actually make sure that you can actually trade in your Bitcoin at the time of its transaction for US dollar. And this cost will be covered by a $150 million trust underneath their bank called the BanSeal. This is the National Bank of El Salvador. So it allows people to pay either with cash or to pay with Bitcoin, but that option is up to the consumer. However, the merchant does not have that option. They have to be able to receive it in either way. So this will create some really interesting dynamics for people who may be more in a corporate setting, say like at a McDonald's, versus your normal merchant on the side of the road who might be selling food or doing something like that. This could potentially elevate that person to have more ability, but when you think about some of the limitations people might have with internet access or spotty cellular coverage, it could cause some issues in that respect as well. One thing to bear in mind is that many people are wondering what the actual environmental implications are going to be associated with this, because many organizations and individuals criticize Bitcoin's energy usage because of how much is required to actually generate it when you're actually Bitcoin mining. So what has been proposed by the president of El Salvador is to actually utilize the volcanoes in El Salvador to actually utilize geothermal energy to help with the Bitcoin mining operations down there. This is a pretty wild idea, but it's something that he proposed, and that is something that he is utilizing hopefully to mitigate that as a problem that could be for El Salvador in the future. Now, they do not have a plan in place as to how they're going to utilize this geothermal technology, but he has directed a state agency to begin investigating that. So all that to be said, this is a very interesting law that is going into effect. It's going to in fact impact a lot of individuals who live in that country, and it could set the framework for way other countries could follow them moving forward, and that could affect the price of Bitcoin, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Now, President Bukele made the announcement that he was going to propose this piece of legislation at the Bitcoin conference in Miami. This garnered a lot of media attention and started getting individuals curious about what was going on in El Salvador. Now, part of his approach, just so that way you know, is he's trying to lure individuals and investors into El Salvador to hopefully generate more revenue for their economy. He's offering the ability for people to come and live on their beaches, to pay no taxes, to do all these different things that could actually be beneficial for them, and he's hopefully luring people who are in the crypto space down there. And there's actually a beach specifically in El Salvador that was used as a model, which actually is something that the president has based his idea off of. Now, from that standpoint alone, this is a very interesting concept, but you have to think about all the different elements that are associated with it, because we have international financial institutions that do play a role in how this is going to be implemented, and whether or not they support that could have a direct impact. As a matter of fact, the finance minister for El Salvador went to the World Bank and requested assistance with implementing this new Bitcoin law, and they rejected that, citing that there is too much uncertainty in the crypto space, and also an underlying issue in El Salvador specifically is they have a very heavy debt load right now, and their GDP is very low, so therefore there is an inherent risk associated with doing anything financially related to changing their current system. And on that note, it does beg the question as to what is causing El Salvador to consider going in this direction, and specifically the president of El Salvador to go in this direction. Some people have criticized him, saying that they believe because he has certain corruption allegations against him right now for seizing the high court, having the military go into their Congress to actually overturn certain pieces of legislation, and because he has so much social media following, he's an individual who has a lot of presence out there, that people are concerned that perhaps he's trying to utilize this as a way to distract from some of his internal political issues, where he's using more authoritarian tactics to generate and consolidate his power. Now, I'm not here to say if he is doing that or if that's the emphasis of what's going on here, but I believe it's important for us to be aware of, because you might be reading on the news and seeing the splashy media headlines saying Bitcoin is being accepted in El Salvador, therefore Bitcoin is going to be accepted in other countries moving forward. And I can tell you, as someone who's very involved in politics and understands government, you have to understand the specific dynamics going on within each government to know why certain decisions are being made. And I would actually be a bit more cautious when it comes to this law being implemented, because as of right now, the president of El Salvador has a substantial amount of control over not only the Congress, but he's very influential with his population. They support him, and he has almost an 80% approval rating, which is a very good thing. But when you think about that, that could also lend itself towards areas of issues to come up. And right now, this is something that he's offering. Hopefully it could be a benefit to the people of El Salvador. Maybe it could be even a benefit to Bitcoin long term for its pricing, but there could be some underlying issues that are driving this that might not be fundamentally related to Bitcoin's transferability or its utilization in the marketplace as a normal currency. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is this going to do to the price of Bitcoin moving forward? We have seen a lot of volatility over the last year, specifically in the crypto space, and then even more specifically when it relates to Bitcoin. So what I would see is that we're going to continue to see volatility irrespective of what transpires in El Salvador. I know people might be thinking that just because a country is adopting it as legal tender, that other countries are going to follow suit, which they might, but it's really going to take a long time until we get to the place where the United States, the European Union, and other countries that are more in the G7 or in the economic threshold where they do transact a lot are going to actually adopt Bitcoin or even go in that direction of adopting Bitcoin. And if they do, that could really send the price soaring. But up until that point, I do think we're going to be continuing on a bumpy ride, and that will have a direct impact on El Salvador's economy. And obviously they're having challenges right now, so this might be a worthwhile risk for them to take, but it is not the kind of risk you're going to see happen in other developed nations like I mentioned previously. And even when we get to that point, we already have the Federal Reserve considering developing a Federal Reserve coin, or basically some form of cryptocurrency from the federal government. And before you get too excited about what that means for crypto writ large, understand that the entire intention behind cryptocurrency is that it is decentralized and it's separate from a government entity. It's no longer a fiat currency, it stands alone. And the second that we have governments creating their own versions of it, basically we're just reiterating a different version of the dollar or a different version of a pound or a euro or something to that extent. So if you're looking at this strictly through the lens of someone who invests in Bitcoin or holds it in some way, shape, or form, what I would consider are various factors. When it comes to investing into Bitcoin, I prefer in any cryptocurrency to not have that be any more than 5% of my overall net worth or my overall investments. So I would really be cautious if you exceed anything beyond that. You might be someone who's a hodler and you just want to hold Bitcoin for a long time and you have a lot of your money invested into it or holding into that. That is completely fine, it's up to your discretion, but I do think long-term Bitcoin's price is going to fluctuate. I could see it being worth anywhere between $1,000 and $1 million over the course of the next 10 years, really depending upon what happens with institutional investors, retail investors, and how government regulation is going to impact its flexibility moving forward from here. And who knows, by the time we get to a place where we have widespread adoption of Bitcoin, we could have something like Ethereum, Cardano, or something else far exceed the usability and the transaction times of Bitcoin, which would cause people to be more inclined to go in that direction. So where it goes from here is really anyone's guess, but like I said, I think there's a wide range of where it could land, but it's important for you as someone who might be considering investing into your future long term to have a balance and variety of approaches when it comes to doing so. Personally, what I like to do is invest strategically into index funds, which have a proven track record and produce results long term. It doesn't get you any high-flying results or anything sexy overnight, but over the course, if you're steady with it, it'll yield a 7 to 10% return on an annual basis, and that can make you a millionaire over the course of a few decades if you are diligent. But you also might want to do it more quickly, and if that's the case, best of luck to you. I wish you the best of success because I want you to be able to fulfill your destiny, fulfill your dreams, be able to lead a meaningful and fulfilled life, and also to be able to make sure you're having financial stability in your life so you can be a positive and contributing member to our society. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. If you wouldn't mind, please tap the like button for the YouTube algorithm, help push this video to other people who might need to hear it. Furthermore, if you have any questions, please comment down below. I'd love to interact with you, get to know you, do any research on your behalf, and help you make well and wise informed decisions moving forward. Furthermore, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to myself personally, as I do everything I can to create positive content that makes a positive impact in your life by encouraging you and myself to lead lives of meaning and purpose, all while maintaining balance and moderation. And if you do subscribe to the channel, please tap the notification bell. That will notify you every time I post a video, which I do on a weekly basis. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you next time. Whoosh.